For my research, basically, I'm looking at a previous study that was done on teenager behavior and comparing it to ADHD. Now, what I do basically is I take a picture of an MRI and try to locate the area of the caudate nucleus. And in this picture right here, it's a piece of gray matter that's right next to both sides of the lateral ventricle, which are basically holes in the brain. And it's important because the caudate nucleus is, well, it's very related to learning, memory, attention, and a lot of other things like language and emotion. And so basically it's a very important part of the basal ganglia. Now, in these MRIs, well, this is the app I use, Image J64. What I do is I try to find both sides of the caudate nucleus, which in this situation it's very hard to locate. Would probably be these parts right here, like this small image right next to the holes in the brain. And then after that, I would calculate the area of the caudate nucleus. And since these graphs go by millimeter, this would be the total area in millimeters. And well, it's very important in ADHD because some studies have shown that people with ADHD have had smaller brain volumes and brain areas, and I really thought it was important to look at that. Now, other than just looking at MRIs, I also look at psychological tests that the previous study did. And, well, I think I better talk about that real quick. The previous study was a twin-based study. They would take twins that are either identical or fraternal, and they'd give them psychological tests, and they'd make them take an MRI. And after that, they'd compare it, because as twins, there's very little genetic variation. Now, do you think that I could, like, show one psychological test?
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Do you want to introduce your?
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Well, Dr. Thomas isn't here. He often does help me with a lot of computer stuff. But I'm trying to find one.
So very quickly, we're going to run one of the programs that we use to collect data from the twins that Achinth was talking about. It's called the money game, and it's not really about money. It's about reward.
Reward system in the brain.
Yep. Which the structures that Achinth is talking about are related to. And very quickly, as you play the game, there are different kinds of stimuli that appear on the screen. And there's an initial shape stimulus, and then there's a pause or a delay period, and then there's the appearance of a solid white square. And as a participant, what we ask the children who come in to participate, what we ask them to do is to press as quickly as they can when that solid white square comes up. And it's only up there for a quarter of a second. It's quite fast. And they have to press within the time period that it's on the screen. The idea is that there are different shapes that appear, and there are reward contingencies that depend on the kind of shape that shows up. So you can lose points, or money as we call it, or gain points or money, depending on the kind of shape that shows up. So if it's a circle, then you can win some money, and you can win different amounts, or an unknown amount, provided that you, when that solid white square shows up, press while it's on the screen. If the initial shape is a square, you can lose potentially different amounts of money if you do not press while the solid white square is there. If you do press while it's there, then you're safe. Okay? This one is a sort of a controlled trial where there's no reward and there's no potential to lose money. Anybody want to try it? Any volunteers?
Sit up, Zach.
I saw your hand.
Here's a chair for you, Zach.
Yes, and take a chair. Thank you.
So you can't really measure the front floor because this goes from front to back, and it's like cut into several pieces. But we can measure the gray and white matter, and we can can measure the whole brain itself.
Press the
Can you
four.
move over there?
So,
Can you just be looking at that and
Or we can-
just, yeah, just look
Four
at that.
again?
Yeah, that's a perfect shot.
Ready?
Hang on.
Here's some data that I collected from the reliability test. It's each side of the brain of the caudate nucleus, left and right, each area. That's it.
See, that you missed it. So this is a reward. Ah, you missed it.
Oh,
Sorry.
Didn't gain any money. Another reward. I think you missed it. No, you got it.
Oh,
Good
I
for you.
got it.
You got $1. This one, you got to catch this or you lose it. Ah, you missed it. Lost money.
Oh.
Sorry.
So what does this have to do with attention?
The system of reward and attention, those systems, the networks of reward and attention are interconnected and related to one another. And the idea is that in certain kinds of tasks that are reward related, there may be a difference in the activation of those networks depending on whether you are anticipating a reward situation or anticipating the potential for loss, or a situation where there may be no difference either in terms of reward or loss contingencies, and trying to tease apart how those two systems interact with one another by presenting a participant with situations where in the period after you know that you're going to potentially gain some money or potentially lose some money, do we see a difference in the activation of the both the reward system and the attentional system that allows you to accurately and successfully hit that target during that very narrow time window. And on an individual basis, the length of time that solid white square is present is varied. So different individuals have different baseline reaction time abilities. So someone may be fast. So some kids are faster than other kids. And as you play, it keeps track of your performance, so that on subsequent runs, what we can do is we can either make it harder for you or make it easier for you. But we have a target goal of having, I think it's, in this particular study, I think it's 70 or 75% win rate, so that we have enough data for trials where you actually don't succeed, so that we can look at the situations where, you weren't able to do it. So, how does it feel?
There are other tests like that. There's
You were gaining money and then
there's the digits man that starts to switch. It basically means that someone will tell you a set of numbers and you're supposed to tell them like in order or backwards. So it's basically a test of memory. Yeah. Yes.
So is there like a prime age span to like test this within?
Yes. In the previous study, it was between the ages of 14 and 17 because it was on teenage behavior.
So like I'm a twin. If I took this with my sister, then you would
Yes.
like prepare
That's
me.
cool. Want to come do it?
Sure.
May I get a picture of the two of you together?
Oh, yeah,
And then we
absolutely.
should get back to the bus, because I promised to get back at 2:30. We gotta go.
Wait.